Welcome to the latest edition of Second City Sports on this hashtag Football Friday. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, that's CK80, that's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X at Keenan's Group and the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance. Your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up in the comment section at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and or do something silly or stupid or dumb, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to barely be boot. But before we begin, we must remind you that you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago live in 11 color, now available on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad, get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have the Roku television, just tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your personal PC. Just hit up the Google Play Store, download the Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
We will provide. We'll try to provide some stuff. We got a busy show coming up here on Second City Sports. Right at the bottom of the hour, we'll have Fox 4's Kansas City, Harold Kuntz, I should say, joining us today to preview Chiefs and Bears. Yes, we still got to talk about the Bears. We'll also going on over the weekend. We'll save all that talk for when our girl Christine Manika comes right at about. She might come a little bit before 1:30. But and Harold has some pretty interesting viral videos. So we'll talk some college football too as well, since he covered the Sooners down in Oklahoma for a bit. So and he's a big Eagles fan too. He's a Philly guy. So yeah, we're gonna be looking forward to talking to him in a little bit. And of course, our girl Christine Macker, KXRB, will be joining us. And also too the NCAA football week 4. We're already week 4. So that's a little bit crazy, but
I know in college, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I know, yeah, it's a little bit nutty, but yeah, let's talk some baseball. Oh boy, Cubs unfortunately lose 2-3 to the Pirates. Okay, now they're tied with the Marlins for that second wild card spot in the NL. I think the Marlins are the tiebreaker right now, so they're kind of like in the outside looking in. Unfortunately, I mean, we said please take it one step at a time. It was all set up. Now, unfortunately, the Cubs are back to being the Cubs that in the middle of the season you thought, okay, maybe they're a bit off not making the playoffs. So, Sid, what do you think?
Yeah, the Cubs are also dealing with injuries, but everybody's dealing with them, so no one's going to feel sorry for them, especially at this point in the season. We are a little bit over a week left to go in the regular season. But here's the thing for the Cubs, losing 10 out of their last 13 games. Everything has happened to them on the wrong side of this has happened to them. You had a big lead. You gave it up. The bullpen has to come through. I know the injury to Albert Alzolay, the closer, has been huge as well. Javier Candelero, who you picked up at the trade deadline, he's been injured as well. He's on the IL as of right now. So if you're trailing like they did throughout the last 2 games of this Pirates series, you attempted to come back late, but it just hasn't worked out. As we said before, Lakina, you give between 4 and 6, 7 runs with the solid pitching staff that this Cubs team has had. Despite all the injuries, you should be able to win most of the games, but it looks like the starting pitching is starting to break. The Cubs, they can get the men on base right now, but they just can't get them through in opportune times. We saw that the other night in that comeback attempt against Pittsburgh. We saw it again last night, but just with men on base, they cannot come through at the right time. But as we say every year, Lakina, and we're going to go through this throughout the rest of the league, when a sub 500 team is on your schedule and you're a contending team trying to wrap up a playoff spot, you cannot take these teams lightly. I'm not going to sit here and say the Cubs are taking the Pirates lightly or that have taken the Colorado Rockies from a couple weeks ago lightly, or the San Francisco or Arizona lightly. I don't think so, but they just haven't had the breaks fall their way. Right now, they just got to turn up a couple more notches with the last 3 home games remaining in their season starting today against Colorado. They just need to put the pedal to the metal and put on full go and just be focused. Like I said, take it one day at a time, one pitch at a time, one at-bat at a time, and they should be able to win this series. Less than a sweep is unacceptable at this point. About ran out of mulligans.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're kind of like, I don't know, it was just that they had some bad breaks, I guess. So this is where it's going to get very interesting, especially now. Hopefully they can kind of get things going. I know, yes, I know the injuries have been to that the middle relief, as of late. Hopefully he might be back by this, that last weekend of the season. We'll see if there's actually some meaning to that. But I just feel like you had your chances to kind of try to get things going, and you couldn't. So. That's sort of, the thing that kind of happened there now. Milwaukee and the Marlins are actually going to be playing each other too starting today. So this could be interesting, though, that you might get a little bit help, from there. But look, just do what you got to do. Look, I know that Justin Steele, he might have, fallen off the NL side. He got chased his last couple of starts. Some of the, it's really just haven't had the breaks go their way. And I kind of feel like at this point of the season, you just got to work your way around those, try to make those breaks happen for yourself. So I'm not saying that the Cubs can't make the playoffs. They can. It's just that at this point, I just they need to kind of want it. And I think, look, you got these teams that are not going to want to, just be cast aside. So I kind of feel like, look, I'm sure the Rockies, Chris Bryant, I'm sure, we'll see how we're going to kind of, I'm sure he's not going to get a great reception over at Wrigley. So yeah, I mean, I'm kind of at that point where we're kind of let's just get it together and just try to, sweep this series. Like you said, anything less than a sweep at this point is just, you're not going to get any more mulligans.
As we said before, we'll say it again. These teams that are sub 500 and they're not going to the playoffs, this is their playoffs right here. And remember, the Cubs were in this position a year ago when they swept the New York Mets and put another couple of teams out of playoff position or changed their positions in the playoffs or knocked them out entirely. Right now, they're the hunted, and with the Colorado Rockies coming in starting today, they're going to be that team that say, hey, if we take the Cubs 2 out of 3 or perhaps sweep them or even get one game, we could alter their route towards the chase of the playoffs. You saw what Pittsburgh did last night because remember, Pittsburgh hasn't had a good second half, even though they had a hot start to the season. Pittsburgh can wear with pride if the Cubs don't make a playoffs. Hey, we had something to do with that. We took 2 out of 3 in Wrigley, and the Colorado Rockies can say the same thing. Like you said, the Cubs don't sweep them this weekend.
All right, let's talk real quick. Actually, second see Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown with you. What caught your eye in MLB this week?
The Los Angeles Dodgers. They continue to roll. They beat the Detroit Tigers, but they're starting to deal with some more injuries. But we'll see what manager Dave Roberts does between now and the playoffs. And Clayton Kershaw's last start, we didn't talk about this on our last show, but he only threw 56 pitches, and he had to be taken out. Hopefully, it's just a precautionary move between now and the start of the playoffs in a couple of weeks. So we'll see what happens with that. As you mentioned, the Toronto Blue Jays, they take care of the Yankees this week in Yankee Stadium. The Brewers, as you mentioned, they continue to roll. They win the series against the Cardinals, taking 2 out of 3. And congratulations to Adam Wainwright, by the way, by picking up his 200th career win earlier this week with a 1-0 shutout.
Yeah, that was gave the Cubs a little bit of help there. And Corbin Carroll is doing his thing, definitely making the case for him in the NL Rookie of the Year chase. He recorded his 50th stolen base to go along with 24 home runs. He's the first rookie in MLB history to record 20 home runs and 50 stolen bases in the season. He also now has 25 home runs. He hit a home run yesterday. He's the 9th player, 13th in this instance in MLB history with 25 home runs and 50 stolen bases in the season. Joey Ronald Acuna Jr., who also did this, this year. So he also did that a couple years ago. So yeah, it's going to be, kind of, cool with the chase there as well now. The Rangers, they've been pretty okay. I wish our buddy Brandon Schutz was here because the Rangers, didn't had an okay week. Not, they did take 2 out of 3 from Boston. They're still a half game back from Houston and also Seattle. My Mariners, I mean, they're still right there as well. They're only a half game back too. So they swept the A's, which are do what you're supposed to do with playing against the Athletics. So still a little bit of a log jam here. Get a little crowded still in the AL West.
I still think that's Houston's division to win the AL West. As we mentioned, they caught fire in the second half of the season. They got to do it offensively. They have done that despite the injury issues they've been dealing with all year. So I think Houston still has a slight track on winning the AL West title. Now, going back to the National League quickly, the Atlanta Braves has placed a starting pitcher Max Fried on the 15-day injured list due to a blister in his left index finger. So hopefully, if you're a Braves fan, Max Fried will be healthy come playoff time less than a week or so from now.
And also, too, want to give a shout out to another pitcher, Blake Snell. He didn't allow a hit in his 7 innings a couple of nights ago against the Rockies. That is a tie for the longest no-hit bid. He had a no-hit going into the 8th. Of course, that they got broken up there. He without a hit against the Diamondbacks as well on a couple of years back. So, kind of a little bit of a thing there. But he might have gotten kind of snatched that NL Cy Young away from Justin Steele with his good starts lately.
Yeah. Real quick, we'll go to the schedule for games that are important in the Major League Baseball. Of course, the Cubs and the Rockies will start their first of the 3-game series from Wrigley later today at 1:20. Also this weekend, we have the Brewers and the Marlins, as Lakina mentioned, from South Beach, Florida. Of course, the Pirates and the Reds from Cincinnati, Toronto at Tampa Bay. The Arizona Diamondbacks in the Interleague Series in New York City against the Yankees. The Atlanta Braves at the Washington Nationals. The Mets and the Phillies. Baltimore at Cleveland, Seattle at Texas. Of course, the Twins are trying to wrap up the AL Central. They'll host the Los Angeles Angels. Houston will host Kansas City. And we'll have the Giants and the Dodgers from the West Coast.
Just a small note, the Mets-Philly series will be on Apple TV Plus, as well as the Giants, the first game of the Giants-Dodgers series on Apple TV Plus. Also, too, no Fox Saturday Baseball. It aired last night, and for the Sunday night game of the week, you got the last of the Giants-Dodgers series. So, still a lot to be decided there in that West. I'm sure the Dodgers will love to kind of try to get that best record still.
All right, and that's your Major League Baseball schedule for this upcoming weekend as the regular season winds down. Now we're going to enter our hashtag Football Friday extravaganza. And when we return, we'll have a special Chicago Bears Kansas City Chiefs preview for Week 3 in the National Football League with our guy Harold Kuntz from Fox 4 TV in Kansas City. He's coming up next with a preview from the Kansas City side. I'm Sid. That's Akina. You're listening to a special edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, No thanks. Not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on Chicago. You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Kiosco again the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. We have less than 90 minutes left of this extravaganza. We call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, especially for our next guest, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comments section. We'll get the up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, one of the things that we've been wanting to do, since we started doing it, especially for this year, is to get more new people on. So, we're going to have someone, this next guest, so please introduce him for us, please.
Yes, he's a veteran sportscaster. He comes to us from Fox 4 TV out in Kansas City. You can follow him on Twitter, X at Harold R. Kuntz 3. That's Harold R. Kuntz, the number 3 on Twitter, X. He is the one and only Mr. Harold Kuntz. Harold, welcome to the program. How are you, my friend?
Hey, guys. How you doing? Thanks
we're doing just fine. Before we get to the preview of this Sunday's game against our Chicago Bears, take us back to last week's victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know the score didn't look tremendous. I did watch some of that game via this computer screen. Compared to week 1 against the Detroit Lions on ring night, which, ring night for any professional team, it can go either way. But I thought last week's game against Kansas City, at least offensively, they were trying to find themselves, but they barely came out of Jacksonville with the win. What was your observations about last week's win over Jacksonville?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. The offense is still trying to find itself. It's a little bit of a new receiving core. Obviously they're 2 years removed from Tyreek Hill, but even had to get Travis Kelce back into the mix for the second week because he wasn't playing in the Lions game, which of course affected them. Kadarius Toney, he's just still kind of getting into the rhythm. He didn't have much of a preseason. And then Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he only has 1 target in both games. So, yeah, they're still trying to find an identity here in the early part of the season. But the good news is Patrick Mahomes is still there, last I checked. So he'll get that identity along with Andy Reid figured out pretty quickly. They're hoping they can figure it out this week.
How did the Chris Jones contract talks go down? I mean, right after that Detroit loss, a couple of days later, he signed to a kind of like a prove-it deal, if you will. How did that go down?
Well, I think it was a situation where the Chiefs won, but Chris Jones is going to think he won. There no longer is there an extension. He's just got basically 1 year remaining on his contract, and he'll have to revisit it at the end of the season. So it is a prove-it year for him, especially with all the incentives that are involved in it. 15 sacks is $500,000. It's predicated on making the Super Bowl, making the Defensive Player of the Year run. There's a lot of incentives included in it. But if you watch the Jacksonville game, he clearly made a huge difference in the game. Not only was it for him and he getting a sack, but also it opens up for guys like George Karlaftis and Mike Dana, guys that you might not know about, but guys that were really good and they're effective because of the fact that Chris Jones is going to attract more than 2 offensive linemen to block him. He made an immediate impact. He looked like he was in shape. He was ready to go. He's even said this week that he's trying to bite the bullet when it comes to being held back because he was only in 35 plays. He wants to go to full 100%. So it's definitely a prove-it year for him, but he's always proved it. His defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, says he's one of one. And he might be one of those guys that, you talk about the Micah Parsons of the world and the Watts of the world. Well, he's a guy that because he's overshadowed by Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense, you don't think of him as a defensive player, but he's right up there. He was in the top 3 last year in the voting for Defensive Player of the Year. He thinks he should be paid as such. And it remains to be seen if another suitor comes. The Chiefs' salary cap is a little bit dicey when it comes to how much room they have with the new reworked contract from Patrick Mahomes and then Joe Thuney, an offensive lineman. That's opened up some cap space, but maybe that's for the following seasons. But that's probably more for a veteran pickup later in the year, preferably on the defensive line. So we'll see how that all turns out. But right now, yes, he's on a prove-it contract, but just judging by game 1, he's already proved his worth to this team, which he really didn't have to in the first place.
In this offensive era that we're under right now, Harold, we talk about teams putting up points in a hurry, and we're focusing on the wide receivers. But the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, has one of the best running back depth charts in the league with Isaiah Pacheco and Jared McKinnon. Talk to us about Isaiah Pacheco because it looks like he's been the real difference maker in terms of rushing for the Chiefs. Ever since last year, he's come into the league. He helped the Chiefs offense, especially after that injury to Patrick Mahomes' ankle. Talk to us about the tandem of Pacheco and McKinnon.
Well, you forget that Isaiah Pacheco was also injured too during the Super Bowl. He was dealing with a labrum and a hand injury that he was running in during the Super Bowl. In the preseason, he only got 1 carry, so he's still kind of getting his legs under him. This week, he's actually been at the facility. He's been held out of a couple practices, but going through some mental reps. He was in practice today, which I just got out of. And so it looks like he'll be ready to go for this day. Jared McKinnon is a veteran back that they're kind of stashing in. He's great at pass protection. You'll see more of him as the season progresses, I'm sure, especially out of the pass game. But right now, Matt Nagy, who's finally taking control as offensive coordinator after, of course, Eric Bieniemy left for Washington, right now he didn't seem to use much of that run game, especially in the first half against Jacksonville. They only had 2 carries in that entire half. And then in the second half, you start to see a few more carries from Pacheco. And you also don't forget about Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then they can have LaMichael Perine come off of the practice squad if need be. So they've got some guys there. You're right about the depth. They just need to use that depth. They need to showcase it. Right now, Patrick Mahomes is your leading rusher. So that's not something that you want to have going forward. You want, of course, Patrick Mahomes to be safe, nice in that pocket and scramble only when he has to. But they need to use Pacheco more. I know Pacheco wants to be used more. It's just a matter of them trying to kind of figure out, again, what they need to do offensively to get in that rhythm, getting a little bit of sync, if you will, going forward. And Isaiah Pacheco is definitely part of those plans. They just need to utilize him more. And maybe that second half in Jacksonville is something we'll see that gets a little more balance, because Andy Reid offensive balance is usually more of a 60-40 pass to run split, maybe even 65-35. That's the balance when it comes to the Chiefs. They need to see more of that balance. Maybe we see it from Pacheco this week.
Now, the Matt Nagy thing, I know that he's going to be facing the Bears now as the OC. Has he kind of put this kind of like a prove it or like a revenge game, I guess, if you will, because we are having our own issues here in Chicago, but that's a whole different conversation. We don't have time for that. But what do you think? What is Matt Nagy's mood like, I guess, approaching this game on Sunday?
Yeah, well, he was at podium yesterday, as all coordinators do on Thursdays, and he basically just said, look, I'm over it. It's a year and a half ago. You forget that he was here as a quarterbacks coach last season and just try to get in the mix. You knew he was the offensive OC in waiting, basically, before, of course, Eric Bieniemy finally got a much-deserved job, even though I still think he should be a head coach, but he got a much-deserved job to really take control of the offense of Washington. So, yes, there's a little bit of Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, and the offense still kind of getting their stuff together. But he's really over the Chicago thing. He said he got a lot out of it because they played a preseason game in Soldier Field last season, so he got to see everybody there, the McClaskeys and the House and everything. But now it really becomes a matter of how does he stamp his identity on this offense, and that hasn't been determined yet. So we'll see what happens going forward. Again, work in progress on the offense, as most people are this early in the season. Now they've had live bullets for the last couple games here, but it's going to be interesting to see how that is going forward and him putting a stamp on his offense.
We're previewing Bears Chiefs with our guy Harold Kuntz. He's a Fox 4 Sports TV anchor and reporter. He's on with us right here on Second City Sports Live in 11 color or Sports on Chicago. Silly Keena here with you. Harold, let's go over to the Chiefs defense. Of course, we talked about Chris Jones earlier, but Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, and also do you have Drew Tranquil as your top linebackers. And outside of those three players, who should Bears fans be looking for as the difference makers on this Chiefs defense come Sunday's game?
Well, it's funny you mentioned linebackers because right now Nick Bolton was not at practice today, so we'll see his status. We're about to find out in about 10 minutes from Andy Reid what his status is going forward for the game against Chicago. But another linebacker is Leo Chenal, a kid from Wisconsin. He's in his second year. Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, saying he's this pound for pound. He's one of the strongest guys on the team, and he's really made an impact earlier on. You've seen them kind of mix some things up. They've done some dime, they've done some nickel. And it's really showing out. They've just really made sure that they've got the 4 set down linemen. They're bringing in some guys from the secondary. They might have 5, they might have 6, but they're trusting Leo Chenal more in his second year, and he's really showing improvement. Another guy that you should look out for is Trent McDuffie. This is also another guy that's in his second year, cornerback out of Washington. He's looking to be a lockdown guy. L'Jarius Sneed has kind of been in and out with the knee injury. So Trent McDuffie's really shown great improvement, and he's really looked on to be a lockdown guy. Again, the Chiefs defense has a lot of guys you just don't hear names a lot of course, because of the offense and all the headlines coming from Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. And on defense, you, of course, hear Chris Jones, but guys like Trent McDuffie have really made a significant impact to this team. They've really allowed them to do a little more things freely, maybe some more blitz, maybe what have you. So things have been really good for Trent McDuffie and Leo Chenal. Those are two guys you should look out for. And they've been quiet, which means they've been tackling well and they've been defending the pass well. So you haven't heard their name much, which is actually a good thing defensively for them.
Juwan Taylor, who's the right tackle, had about 5 or 6 penalties against the Jags last Sunday by himself, by the way. So did Andy Reid give him like a nice little talking to, or is it he's a veteran, so you think we would know better, but what's kind of like the thing there?
Well, Andy Reid did pull him. He pulled him in for Prince Tego Wanago for a series. Basically, it ended up being a couple plays, and Andy Reid pulled him, just kind of sat there and told him to calm down. I mean, you have to understand, these guys are creatures of habit. So something that they've been doing forever. And then, of course, you hear from the referees and the union and all the coaches that are looking out for certain things like this where he's not aligned properly. It's something that he has to just correct. So, but he's a professional. I think once he gets that stuff corrected, he should be good because his pass block rate is actually one of the tops in the league. The only thing that's bothering him is the penalties. And so it's not just a simple thing as just scooching up to the line of scrimmage more. There's a lot more intricacies that go into playing lineman than a lot of people would think. So there's one thing where he just needs to look out to make sure that he's not disrupting the flow of the offense by penalties, not creating those 2nd and 15s, not creating those 3rd and 15s, maybe a 2nd and 20. It's just something he's got to look out for. And he always says he's trying to time the snap correctly. He can still do that, just needs to inch up a little bit more, maybe take a second to pause. He's doing well when he gets the snap in on time. So just focus on getting your alignment correct and then working with the offensive coaching staff to get there and get lined up properly and just not try to snap off or fire off as quick as possible. He should be fine. He knows the situation. He's been doing it for a while in Jacksonville, and old habits die hard. And, of course, he had to face his former team where they knew he did this. So it's something they looked out for. But it's nothing more, nothing less than just making sure you give it to the coaching staff, making sure you take like a half second, just breathe, pause, and then go to do what you're doing, which is doing a really good job at right tackle so far.
We know that Justin Fields has not had a good start to this young season so far, but he's capable of exploding at any time to make a couple big plays. What type of defense do you think the Chiefs will have to try to I don't want to say stop Justin Fields, but at least neutralize Justin Fields or having him make that big play?
Well, I think the biggest thing about this game is they have no idea what they're facing right now. Justin Fields is kind of teased that he's going to go back to just basically running the ball a lot and, doing the old, shotgun and do it with the running back there and kind of just go from there. Or is he going to be like the first 2 weeks where he's trying to be in the pocket, try to dissect the defense? They don't really know right now, but they know this: he's a good athlete. And so the Chiefs have to match it up with good athletes too. I think that's the biggest thing they know is like, okay, if they go to that, they've faced players like that before. They've faced like Lamar Jackson. They kind of had a little bit of that with Trevor Lawrence last week. So they know what to do there. It's just a matter of you kind of install different game plans and be prepared for 2 different options. It's just a matter of which option do they go with. I think the Bears' real hope in this game, real only hope, if they have a hope, honestly, is the fact that you don't know exactly what they're going to present to the table, because teams, when they're desperate and 0-2, are going to try some different things, try some different looks. So they're going to be prepared for anything from Kansas City's end and hope that things kind of work out for them.
Yeah, I think Sid kind of stole my next question. So what are the chances that the Chiefs are kind of looking past this game? Like, the Bears are 0-2, they're in upheaval, and what's sort of the mood there?
The mood is simply, look, just take care of business. I mean, they've been through this before where they've had a situation where they have faced Indianapolis before, and that was a team that they overlooked, and they had some things that, didn't go right, and they ended up losing to a team that was really, frankly, inferior to them at the time. So, and Travis Kelce's warned about this all week. They've had these situations where they cannot overlook teams. They got to be professionals, and if they're professionals, they should take care of the job pretty easily. I mean, you can look at the spread. It's a double-digit spread. It should be a double-digit spread. Chicago fans are selling tickets like flies already out here simply because they know that maybe we don't want to see the Bears, even though we were looking forward to this Arrowhead trip. We don't want to see our team get kicked. So they know. They just have to be professional about it. And the way the Chiefs' schedule really rounds out, it's not only the Bears, and they have games at the Vikings, who haven't been good so far. They're playing the Broncos twice. They haven't looked good so far. They're playing the Chargers that haven't looked good so far. So it's a lot of professional efforts they got to stack up, and they got to play to their standard. The good thing is they haven't played to their standard, so they know that they have something to play for.
Last question for me, Harold, before we let you go. Of course, reading through your bio, you also cover college football. Of course, you're in Big 12/SEC country now with all these conference realignments. But I'll ask you this question about Deion Sanders in Colorado, since they face Oregon on the road tomorrow. And give us your thoughts about his impact on the Colorado Buffaloes program. He has that team 3-0 right now. Travis Hunter, he's going to be gone for the next few weeks. Talk to us from your perspective about Deion Sanders' impact on their program so far.
I mean, the numbers are what the numbers are. They're the highest rated game pretty much every week. He's made a significant impact to the game, but I don't understand why anybody wouldn't think he'd make a significant impact in the game. This is a guy who's a Hall of Famer and All-Pro. He's recruited great talent, at least from his first string. He's got to build that depth there at Colorado. But for right now, he's doing absolutely an amazing job. And I'm not surprised at all that they're 3-0. Now, conference play is going to be difficult because the Pac-12 is probably the most difficult conference in America this year, with 8 teams being undefeated entering conference play. But no surprise at all. He's got great talent there. I mean, it's not like he hasn't worked with his quarterback. He's been working with him since he was born. So it's really a simple situation of things are working out the way they should. They've got good talent. I mean, you look at Travis Hunter being out. One of the guys backing them up is a 5-star kid that I think they're just got to take off the red shirt. So, I mean, they've got talent. They've got a tough situation this week going into one of the toughest places to play in college football in Autzen Stadium. And then, of course, USC comes to town the next week. But they don't have to really prove anything. I mean, this is a 1-win team from last year, and he's already exceeded the win total that they should have had. So he's doing great. He's been great for college football. He's got guys interested in college football that normally wouldn't be, which is all the sport loves. So it's been fantastic. I've been watching every game. I was up till 2 a.m. watching the Colorado State game last week.
Same here.
Me too. And last question for me. I know you were in OKC for a while, and talking about Oklahoma. Oklahoma's kind of been quietly, hey, look, they're undefeated. So they start Big 12 play, and what do you think of their chances of getting into the college football playoff?
Yeah, they really haven't played anybody. I mean, they had a scheduled game with Georgia that had to get reneged because of entering the SEC next year, so they couldn't get that home and home going until next season. So they ended up replacing with a decent SMU team, and of course Tulsa and Arkansas State, who have been well below any standards right now. So, and they play Cincinnati, a team that just lost to Miami of Ohio. So you don't know anything about Oklahoma until they play Texas, quite honestly, which seems to be the case every year for them, but especially this year. But at least they're putting up the scores that they should against these type of level teams.
All right, that's been Fox 4's Harold Kuntz from Kansas City, Missouri. He covers the Chiefs, the Royals, and everything else in between with professional sports and college sports in this great city of Kansas City. Of course, we've been previewing the Bears and Chiefs for America's Game of the Week for this upcoming Sunday on Fox as part of the Fox Sunday doubleheader. Harold, thank you so much for joining us here today, taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Good. I was going to say good. Well, good. Bears need more good luck than the Chiefs. So I think the Chiefs were killing me personally, but enjoy the game and keep up the great work. And we'll talk to you again soon. Okay.
All right. Appreciate it, guys.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Stay safe, Harold. All right, that was Fox 4's Harold Kuntz. We still got a few more minutes left, sis. So where do you want? Do you want to recap Giants 49ers? Do you want to talk about more of this Bears Chiefs game? Where do you want to go?
Let's review the Chiefs the 49ers and Giants for last night. Of course, I'm not surprised at what happened last night by the Bay. Of course, the San Francisco 49ers beat the injured New York Giants by 18 points, 30-12. Of course, my guy Deebo Samuel had a touchdown last night. He's on my fantasy team. I know that's besides the point. But on the flip side, the New York Giants, were without Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones didn't look good. The defense for the 49ers came through. And I'm not too shocked at what happened last night. As we talked about on our show on Monday, Lakina, the Giants, they needed that win at Arizona because they would have been looking down a real big hole to try to climb themselves out of. It's still going to be tough for them because Saquon Barkley is going to be out for the next couple of weeks as their schedule. I'm talking about the Giants get tougher. But the 49ers are now 3-0, Lakina. And I think it's still between, as of right now, I think it's still between them and Philadelphia to be the top dog in the NFC right now.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you on that. Christian McCaffrey had another touchdown, rushing touchdown. Well, another touchdown in general. That's his 12th straight game. He had a touchdown, including the playoffs. That's tied with Jerry Rice, who did in 1987 as the most consecutive games with a TD in 49ers history. And it looks like Brock Purdy, I guess that elbow is not bothering him. So I guess maybe they may know something that we don't down there. And of course Deebo did his thing, 129 yards and a touchdown. Their defense was actually really solid as well. They kind of kept the Giants kind of at bay for a little bit. I mean, the Giants had a chance to score, but they just weren't able to really do too much of anything. I mean, they sacked Daniel Jones twice. You could tell they only had 29 rushing yards. So yeah, that shows you not having Saquon there. So it looks like maybe the Giants they should be 0-3, but the Cardinals are tanking. So but they're now
right.
On the flip side over the 49ers, I mean, look, it could come down between them and the Eagles again. Look, we got a long ways to go, but excuse me. And but considering that both the 49ers who are now 3-0, but them aside, Cowboys, Eagles, the Commanders, Saints, Bucks, and the Falcons, they're also 2-0. This is actually the first time in NFL history that seven teams in one conference or on the NFC have started at least 2-0. Of course, notwithstanding with the 49ers game, the win against Giants yesterday. So so far, it's been the NFC has actually been pretty spread out. But we'll see as the season goes on.
Yeah, and one more thing before you hop around for the rest of the league. The Giants defense, especially Thibodeau, who had that early sack on Brock Purdy, the Giants defense, give head coach Brian Daboll credit. That Giants defense was aggressive early, but as you mentioned, the 49ers running game started to pick up with Christian McCaffrey. Of course, Deebo Samuel got involved in the offense, and the offensive line for San Francisco started to protect Brock Purdy much better, especially in that second half where the San Francisco offense started to pick up. But like you mentioned, due to injuries, the Giants do not have enough playmakers on offense. Outside of tight end Darren Waller, I know he's been battling a couple of injuries here and there to start the year, but they don't have any playmakers. Like I said, the absence of Saquon Barkley as expected, it was very much seen. It was exposed last night.
Yeah, it really was. You can kind of tell that. I don't want to say that the 49ers were kind of caught looking ahead, but I think he kind of got a little bit of a slow start. Purdy, kind of had some missed throws and such, but they were able to get it going, especially as it later on in the second quarter. Of course, definitely in the third quarter. Well, the second quarter especially, they scored 2 touchdowns, but definitely in the third quarter they kind of kicked it into gear there. kind of were able to kind of protect Purdy a lot better. So yeah, it was a solid performance. They get 10 days off. I think Debo got a little bit banged up. I think he got a little maybe concussion, not concussion necessarily, but I think you got a little bit banged up. So they do get 10 days to kind of heal up and stuff. And that's probably one of the few bright spots of these Thursday nighters. But yeah, I mean, I'm really liking what I'm seeing for San Fran so far.
Yeah, so am I, and that's one of the reasons why they're 3-0. I know we have a couple minutes left before we break for the top of the hour. I want to get your thoughts about the Dallas Cowboys. Purposely, I did not mention them as one of the top teams in the NFC right now, only because of the injury to defensive back Trayvon Diggs. He on the one non-contact defensive drill yesterday, he suffered a torn ACL. He's going to be gone for the year. We talked about this will probably, according to many experts, a make it or break it season for head coach Mike McCarthy. And the Dallas Cowboys defense, at least on paper, looked great. Now they're going to miss one of their best defensive players, one of the best stars in the league. And Micah Parsons, he can only do so much, but that secondary is going to have to be a collective effort now, because you really cannot place Trayvon Diggs on the roster in terms of the talent and the energy and the impact he brings to that Dallas Cowboys secondary.
This is how big of a loss that is, and I was so shocked, and I felt so bad because he was having such a great season. No DB has held opposing QBs to lower passer rating in the last 3 years. The nearest offender is way behind him. Of course, he had 15 interceptions in those 3 years. He actually led the league in interceptions the last 2 seasons. So this is a big loss for the Cowboys, and I'm wondering, you saw how dominant they were. Their defense was those first couple of games. Well, Diggs had a lot to do with that, and now without him, now you're going to have to, of course, like you said, Michael Parsons. He voices his pleasure. But it was such a freak thing too. He was doing a drill, a simple, drill that they do all the time in practice, and you get tear your ACL. So guys, guys like Stephon Gilmore, there's a veteran. Maybe he's going to have to step up a little bit more. Jaron Kearse, Donovan Wilson. So those guys are going to have to step up on the secondary side for the Cowboys. So, and this is going to get very interesting to see how Mike McCarthy, who is a defensive guy, by the way, kind of maneuvers all this. So this is going to be a big test for them.
And also, too, I want to see what type of coverages they're going to do with that secondary moving forward without the Trayvon Diggs. Because I know they're going to do some experimenting coming up on Sunday, because they'll take on the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. We know Arizona don't have the big playmakers like some of these other teams do, like Philadelphia and San Francisco. So I think that's going to be the true test when the Cowboys face those types of teams down the road. How does the secondary respond against better talent? But you're going to see some experimenting this Sunday against Arizona. As I mentioned, no big playmakers for Arizona. They have some nice pieces here and there, but they don't jump out the stat sheet and say, "Oh, we got to figure out a defense to stop this specific play." They don't have that, as you mentioned, kid. They're tanking. I'm talking about the Cardinals. So the Cowboys have some work to do. They'll do some experimenting here and there. I expect to see that on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals, and we'll see what happens. But like I said before, it's going to have to be a collective effort now, because you just cannot replace Trayvon Diggs, which is one big superstar. That's not that quote unquote superstar is not out there on the free agent market. It's got to have to be a collective effort, and the defensive line of the Cowboys, led by Michael Parsons, they're going to have to pick it up a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll talk more about this with our girl Christine Manika from KXRB at the bottom of the hour at 1:30. And also we'll talk about how weather could become a factor in some of these games too. So we'll talk about that as well. So we're going to take a really quick break. Hour number 1, it just flew right by. It's a little weird when that happens. But, the hour number 2 straight ahead, of course, we're going to talk some college football week 4. We'll talk more about the Colorado-Oregon matchup. And, of course, our girl KXRB's Christine Manika for our NFL pick'ems. We're getting a little bit closer here. So get a little crowd at the top here with our picks. But also, too, of course, like I said, weather could be a factor in some of these games. So a lot to do still. We see our hashtag Football Friday, Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports, Sports of Chicago. College stuff coming up right after this.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. You're so
that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it! Yes, sir!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports on this hashtag Football Friday edition. We're live in the color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You can follow Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and Lakina on the IG.
We have less than an hour left at this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
And of course, Sid, let's continue our hashtag Football Friday. Of course, we'll go into the college gridiron, and we'll talk about the Colorado Oregon game in just a second, but some interesting games coming up tonight, Friday. Big Ten play starts, Wisconsin and Purdue. That should be interesting on FS1 at 6 o'clock. ACC action, you got NC State and Virginia on ESPN. You got Boise State, San Diego State on CBS Sports Network, and second half of the doubleheader on FS1. You got Air Force and San Jose State with a little more Mountain West Conference action.
I want to see what that first game on FS1 tonight with the Big Ten matchup you're talking about with Wisconsin and Purdue. I want to see how that Wisconsin picks it up, especially offensively. We talked about in the beginning of the year, Lakina, that Wisconsin was going to turn over a new leaf and air it out because traditionally they've been known to run the football and play strong defense. But Chaz Malusi, the Badger star running back, he has 4 touchdowns on the year so far, off of 268 career rushing yards. I want to see him get more involved tonight, but I want to see Wisconsin Badgers air it out a little bit more. Purdue's been airing it out so far with Hudson Card for the Boilermakers. He has 3 touchdowns so far this year off of 825 yards passing, but their stud wide receiver, Deion Burks, has 9 catches. Out of those 9 catches, 3 of them have been for receiving touchdowns.
It's definitely a pick-em game, so yeah, this should be very interesting. Of course, these two.
Yeah, Wisconsin's favored by 5.5.
Yeah, these two always, play great games. So we'll see if this will be said tonight. Same thing with Boise State and San Diego State. I know Boise State was off. I think that's why they got the 6.5 point favorite. But I think San Diego State. I think they split their last few meetings, so this should be very interesting, especially down there over there in San Diego. Same thing with Air Force and San Jose State. I know San Jose State's been kind of struggling a little bit this year. They're 1-3. Air Force is undefeated so far. Still a very tough place to play over there in San Jose State. So we'll see what happens there tonight. Going into tomorrow's matchups, you got Rutgers number 2 Michigan. That's the first game on BTN. Look, Rutgers has been playing well. Look, these two always play very close. I think Jim Harbaugh is back on the sidelines, so that should help a little bit. Rutgers is 3-0, Michigan's 3-0. We'll see. I mean, if Rutgers can stay with them, I think they can make it a little bit interesting. But I don't think Michigan should not have any trouble with them. I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll see what J.J. McCarthy does at the helm for the Michigan Wolverines. He has 7 touchdowns and 3 interceptions so far this year. I expect him to pick it up and hopefully cut down on the turnovers. But watch out for Cornelius Johnson for the Wolverines. Their star wide receiver. He only has 1 receiving touchdown on the year, but he does have 13 receptions for 224 yards. So I expect him to have a big day, hopefully in the touchdown department.
Going to the ACC, you have Florida State and at Clemson. These two always, play great games. And I know Clemson. I know they had that struggle against Duke early, the first game of the season. They've been they've won 2 in a row. Florida State, 3-0. That there's a tropical cyclone that could play a factor here that could kind of even things out. So what do you think about this matchup?
I'm looking at the matchup of the quarterbacks for this game. Of course, Jordan Travis for Florida State has 8 touchdowns on the year off of 739 yards passing. But King Kublik for Clemson, he was supposed to be this next, I don't want to say savior, but he was supposed to be in the next line of quarterbacks up there for Dabo Swinney and Clemson. I know he's been struggling so far this year, but I want to see him have a big game, and we'll see what happens. I know Florida State's a 2-point favorite on the road, so Vegas thinks that Clemson can slightly pull it out, but I want to see King Klubnik pick it up here for Clemson, because I think Florida State's, they're going to bring it on the other side, but I want to see there's more about what Clemson does here at home.
Yeah, remember that weather could be an issue too, because it kind of makes they may have to depend on the ground game, both teams. So it could be the challenge on the ground. So we'll see what happens there. Now, our buddy Harold talked about this Oklahoma and Cincy. I know Cincy's 2-1. I know Oklahoma. Give them credit for wanting to go to these places. I know that place is gonna be rocking over there in Cincinnati. So. They're hoping, that this is going to be kind of like a new thing there. They're going to be in the Big 12, so they're going to get their first test of this. I'm talking about Cincy. So should be interesting. But yeah, I mean, look, I really like how Oklahoma's been playing so far. And, like I said, I mean, I think they shouldn't have any trouble with them. I mean, I think, look, they're still, there's still Cincinnati that they got some decent players. They got Emory Jones, their QB, but Dylan Gabriel has been playing, great this year. He's a 5th-year senior. So, this is a veteran squad. So yeah, this I'm not saying that Oklahoma should be on upset alert, but I think I'm sure Brent Venables will have his guys ready for this game.
Yeah, this is the big news Saturday game on Fox tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock Chicago time. Of course, if Cincinnati has a chance at an upset, they're going to play almost near perfect football, no stupid penalties, and they're going to create some turnovers on defense. But on the flip side, offensively, Corey Kiner and Mr. Xavier Henderson, they're going to be big playmakers for this Cincinnati Bearcats offense.
Auburn at Texas A&M, the SEC on ESPN at the same time at 11 a.m. on SEC Network. You got Kentucky and Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech and Marshall. These two in-state rivals have had some interesting games over the years. So remember Marshall actually beat Vatech in Blacksburg a couple years ago. And the Vatech returned to favor from a couple years the year after. So there's going to be a new rivalry for that. That should be a fun one on ESPN2. A battle of the old Southwest Conference. You got SMU and TCU. That's going to be on FS1. That should be a fun one between those two teams. Northern Illinois hosts Tulsa on CBS Sports Network. That's the first of their triple header. And of course, that's the Oregon hosting Colorado. That's the 2:30 game on ABC. And Harold kind of stole my thunder there because the Pac-12 has 8 teams as we're recording this that are 3-0: USC, Colorado, Oregon State, Utah, Washington, and Wazoo. So something's going to give here. And look, you're not going to hear Oregon. They haven't said a word. I think Dan Lemmy probably did that intentionally so that they can say, look, don't
yeah, rightfully so.
Give him any bulletin board material. I think Dan Lemmy even said that Deion was his favorite player growing up, and he's doing a great job. So they're doing the old kill him with kindness thing, which look, I always say, with all else fails, go that way. Shedeur Sanders is going to be facing a pretty solid veteran QB in Bo Nix. This could be like his Heisman showcase as well. So, but I think if you're Oregon, you're going to go feed off that crowd because the crowd's going to be loud over there in Eugene. And and use your defense. The defense has actually been pretty solid this year. So, Shedeur is going to have a little bit of a challenge here against the Oregon defense.
Yeah, you mentioned, of course, this game is on tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC. You mentioned about Shedeur Sanders. He's having a great year so far. He didn't have the greatest of games last week, but he came up big when he had to in the last drive of regulation last week, driving Colorado 98 yards against that Colorado State Rams defense to tie the game to force it in overtime. And, of course, he came up big in overtime with those 2 touchdown passes. But like you said, this is going to be his toughest test so far this season. And without Travis Hunter, Wilkerson, their running back for Colorado, has got to step up. Xavier Weaver, who stepped up big last week with those couple of touchdown receptions last week, I expect him to have a big game as well for Colorado. So Deion Sanders and crew, they're going to have a tough challenge on their hands. But I know Oregon's favored by 21. I think Oregon's going to pull it out. I think Bo Nix is going to be too much for that Colorado secondary. They're talented, but they haven't faced a quarterback like this. I think Deion's crew will keep it close, but I think Oregon is going to be too much for them. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like many people expect, but I think Colorado, they know that they survived a big scare last week against Colorado State where they were favored big time, and they barely came out there alive with their tail between their legs, but they're going to face a tougher competition tomorrow on the road.
Yeah, Bucky Irvin, who's from right here in Chicago, he's one of the top running backs in the country, not just in the Pac-12. So I think he's among the tops in Russia. I think he's in the top 5. So I think you're kind of giving them, you're kind of giving Oregon a little bit of a slight. Then of course Troy Franklin, who's one of their top receivers. And look, that Oregon secondary is actually pretty good. So I wouldn't. This is probably going to be his biggest test. Talking about Shedeur Sanders. So like I said, I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but I say don't be surprised that it is. As this is Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown with you as we're previewing week 4 of college football and another Pac-12 game between 2 ranked teams. I'm not getting as much attention as it should. You got UCLA hosting Utah. That's the second game of that Fox triple header. And look, Utah. I mean, look, you got to give Utah a little bit of credit. I don't know if Cam Rice is going to be back. Remember, he's still recovering from the ACL surgery, so they were off, I think, a couple weeks ago. But he could be back, so we'll see. But they've had some various injuries too, so that could come back to bite them in the butt. UCLA is one of those. Is like one of those schools that we know they're still kind of right there. You got Dante Moore, who's their true freshman. Wide receiver, and he's kind of like quarterback, I should say. He's been, the spotlight hasn't been too much from. This is going to be his first big test on the road. So Nate Johnson's been great to kind of hold down the fort, if you will, until Cam Rising comes back. He'll have to face a really tough UCLA defense, and it's going to get very interesting because this could come down to who, because they haven't allowed any rushing yards. That front seven of UCLA is actually one of the tops in the country, so it's going to be the first big test.
Yeah, also too for UCLA on the offensive side, look for J. Michael Sturvian to have a big game. He has 9 catches for 219 yards so far this year, and with 2 touchdowns. But they don't have to do it by running the football, in my opinion. And Carson Steele, he has 2 rushing touchdowns on the year off of 30 carries for 243 yards. But I think UCLA, to keep that Utah offense off the field and Utah's defense stretched out, in my opinion, I think UCLA is going to have to run the football. Utah's favored by 6 at home. The over-under total is 52.5. I'm tempted to go over the over the 52.5 total, but that's a whole nother story. But I think this could be another sneaky high shootout game.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I think it's good. I think the run game. I think if you're Chip Kelly, I think you want to try to run the ball as much as possible through the Utah front seven. That's probably one of their few weaknesses. Their secondary's actually been one of the tops in the country, but it's been the front seven that's a little bit iffy. So we'll see what happens there. Now, another good game, the SEC game of the week here. You got Alabama and as Ole Miss, and I think they've played these games really close, and look they. If you ask Ole Miss, they probably thought that they should have won the game that they're meeting last year. So you're kind of Alabama at a pretty precarious day. Jackson Dart, he's been around for a while. He has 7 touchdowns, only 1 interception. He also the leading rusher. I know Sid Hayes from the quarterbacks is the leading rusher, but case. But if you're Alabama, you don't know who's going to be starting the QB. I think Nick Saban's taking that very close to the vest, and it could be the battle of the defenses here.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, do we know who's going to play quarterback for the Crimson Tide? They barely got out there alive against the South Florida Bulls last week down there in Tampa. And here's the thing about Alabama. They ran the ball well, and they came up with some big turnovers defensively when they had to play against a young squad in the South Florida Bulls. But like you said, they're not going to they cannot mess around with Ole Miss. And you saw what Texas did to Alabama down there a couple of weeks ago. If you're Ole Miss, you think you're going to use the same game plan. I would, but we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I think Alabama's going to take it, but it's going to be much closer than what people think. Alabama's favored by 6.5 at home.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you're Lane Kiffin, you can kind of catch Alabama as they're kind of like they don't know where they're going to go. So I think if you're I know Jackson Dart really I know he's been circling this game since last year since they lost to them. So I'm sure he wants to kind of get this revenge. This is going to be his last time playing Alabama. Well, unless they make both the SEC championship. So we'll see what happens with that. Duke versus UConn. Second game, the CBS Sports Network's triple header. Then you got number 20 Miami against Temple. That's going to be on ESPN2. Illinois.
Miami could be a sneaky college playoff football contender. They actually have a quarterback, Tyler Van Dyke, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception so far this year. I know they lost a stud defensive back due to injury a couple weeks ago. But this Miami Hurricanes team is rolling. No one's talking about them just yet. So watch out for them.
They play North Carolina in a couple of weeks, but again, first, they got to take care of Temple over there in Philadelphia. Of course, Illinois hosts Florida Atlantic. They shouldn't have any trouble, but again, you never know with this Illinois squad this year.
Yeah, Luke Altmaier must play much better. So far, he has thrown 7 interceptions to 3 touchdowns so far this year. Luke Altmaier at the quarterback position for the Fighting Illini, he must play better.
Yep. La Tech against Nebraska. That's going to be on BTN. That's the other game that's going to be on BTN, part of their regional coverage. Boston College and Louisville. That's going to be on the ACC network. Kansas hosts BYU. That should be interesting. See a good matchup there at 2:30 on ESPN. Texas Tech and West Virginia. That's going to be the part of the Big 12 channel on ESPN Plus. And as we Tennessee hoping to bounce back from their loss to Florida, they play the UT San Antonio Roadrunners. Beep beep. That's going to be on SEC Network. I love saying that I love when UT San Diego plays because I get to do that beep beep. Oklahoma State, Iowa State. Both teams are struggling this year, so this could be a get-right game for somebody. That's at 3:00 over at FS1.
At 5:30 on the CW Network, that's WGN TV for those of you here in Chicago. Georgia Tech.
WCIU, actually.
But the games are on WGN here in Chicago.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess it depends on the carrier, I guess, because my carrier is WCIU. But it's finally back on the thing, so you won't miss it.
Yeah, Georgia Tech at 1-2. The Yellow Jackets will travel to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to take on the 3-0 Wake Forest Demon Deacons, and going to the prime time schedule on ESPN at 6:00 Chicago time. We'll have 2-1 Arkansas at number 12 LSU. I think Brian Kelly should not have a problem with his Arkansas team. They're playing at Tiger Stadium at 6:00 on Fox. Number 14 Oregon State. The Beavers will travel to Washington State to take on the Cougars. They're ranked number 21 in the country. That's a Pac-12 action there. There should be a sneaky high-scoring game. And also, too,
defensive battle, too, because both defenses are really good. So, maybe you might take the under on that one.
Okay. At 6 o'clock on ESPN Plus, we have 0-2 Colorado State after losing a heartbreaker in Colorado in Boulder last Saturday night. They'll hit the road to take on Middle Tennessee. They're at 1-2. And on we'll say this any other games. Okay, the first of the 6:30 p.m. games. This one's on ABC. In Big 12 action, the number 3 Texas Longhorns, they'll travel to Waco, Texas to take on the 1-2 Baylor Bears.
You saw what happened against Wyoming last week, so you kind of wonder, like, okay, maybe they got a little bit too big for themselves. Baylor, look, they played close against Utah, a couple weeks back, so I'm not saying that Sark's guys should be on upset alert, but I'm thinking that they probably shouldn't look too far ahead. So, but yeah, it should be a decent game nonetheless. These two always play well against each other. They've done it for even when they were back in the Southwest Conference. So, that they always play well against each other. But the big game of the week here, you got number 6 Ohio State against number 9 Notre Dame. That's going to be on NBC. And too bad our girl Christine is not here with us yet. Well, we'll probably talk to her about this. But this is going to be Notre Dame's first big test. I mean, they've been kind of, I don't want to say sleepwalking, but they've been sort of like been 4-0. And look, I mean, Ohio State. Of course, we know about Kyle McCord. So far so good for him. I mean, he's definitely earned the job. We know Sam Hartman. This guy's who's been playing big games, so it won't be too big for him. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to play a really key role here. So I think for me the key is going to be, and I guess who can keep the ball, I guess, away from the offense? Who could keep whose offense keep the other offense off the field? This is probably going to be the big question here.
Yeah, I think also too it's going to be a battle of the quarterbacks, as you mentioned, with McCord for the Buckeyes and Hartman for the Fighting Irish. I think Sam Hartman is going to have to make a couple big plays with his feet. Can he throw on the run? Can he make some things happen with his feet? Because you know that the Buckeyes defense is very active as well. So we'll see what happens, how Notre Dame can adjust. And they're going to have to run the football effectively with Aldrich Estamine. He has 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. So but if Notre Dame can keep that Buckeyes defense off guard, I think they'll have a real good shot at an upset. But on the flip side for Ohio State, after struggling to start the year in the first couple of weeks, I expect Marvin Harrison Jr., who should be a Chicago Bear next year, by the way. I expect him to have a big game. So far, he has 14 receptions. 3 of them have been touchdowns this year. I expect him to at least have 2 touchdowns tomorrow night.
Should be a fun game there in South Bend. Another fun game here. I think another game is kind of not getting noticed because it's going to be on at the same time. This is going to be on CBS, by the way. Their primetime, their Big Ten primetime game of the week. You got Penn State hosting Iowa. And look, Iowa, give them credit. They're actually been scoring points. Look, Kerfoot's son Kyle, he so far has actually, gotten their offense, actually in a pretty solid ground here. But, with Katie McNamara at the helm, but this is going to be their first big test. I mean, that defense from Penn State, I mean, talk about the old black shirts. And look, the running game could be a factor here, because we know Iowa, like I should say, likes to, air it out, but it could be the ground game. And if you're Penn State, you want to try to get Kadron Allen the ball as much as possible to keep that Iowa offense off guard.
You just took the key factor of the game from right out of my head, Lakina.
Get out of my head.
Yeah, but Kadron Allen has 2 rushing touchdowns so far this year for the Nittany Lions. I think he's going to have a couple of more tomorrow, as Beaver Stadium, as you mentioned, is going to be rocking. That Penn State defense has been active so far this year. You saw what they did to Virginia Tech a couple of weeks ago. Iowa, they're going to have to be careful here because going into a hostile environment, they're going to have to play almost a near-perfect game. Not turn the ball over, not have any silly penalties, and they can run the ball as well. I'm talking about the Hawkeyes. I think they'll have a great shot, but I think Penn State and James Franklin, that squad is just too much for Iowa. It's going to be closer than what people think. I know Penn State is favored by 14.5. Maybe you see something I don't see, Lakina. I don't know whether it's going to be a factor there, but I expect Penn State to win a close one. Probably between 7 and 10 points.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have the remnants of that cyclone. It looks like it's gonna be like it might pass by kickoff, but I think early on, if you see like a lot of rain early on, that could be the reason why. So that could play a factor there. But like I said, the running game might be a huge factor there. The Fighting Mike Bourbons, as we call them here, the Mizzou Tigers, they're undefeated. They host Memphis. They're the Battle of the Tigers. That's going to be at 6:30 on ESPNU. Minnesota plays Northwestern. That's going to be on BTN at 6:30.
That's in Northwestern.
Right, yeah, in Evanston. So, so Mississippi State and South Carolina, that's going to be on at the SEC Network. North Carolina goes to Heinz Field as they play Pittsburgh. Well, no, actually, Arcura Stadium in Pittsburgh. UCF against Kansas State, that's going to be on FS1. I think that's about it. USC, after fresh off a bye, they play Arizona State on Fox at 9:30. I know there was some stuff that kind of went on with the credentials and stuff like that, but that's settled apparently, so don't have to worry about that. And also, too, of course, Arizona State, we know this is going to be their Super Bowl for them. So if you're looking at Raleigh, you want to make sure that Caleb Williams and the rest of those guys don't look far ahead, don't look past the Sun Devils.
Yeah, going back to the UC Arizona State game tomorrow night again. How many touchdowns do you think Caleb Williams is going to throw? I'll say 5.
Yeah, I think that's probably 5. I think he's probably gonna. I think he's gonna try to get that early lead, and I'm sure Lincoln Riley's gonna pull him out of there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does, especially if the Trojans should be able to control this game pretty handily. So if you want to get rid of that, he might just throw 5 and just sit for the rest of the game. Cal and Washington on ESPN. That's at 9:30. A little Pac-12 after dark. And of course, Kent State, Fresno State. That's going to be on CBS Sports Network. The last of that quadruple header, I should say. And then New Mexico State and Hawaii. That's going to be almost 11 o'clock. I ain't going to be up that late, kid. So, but yeah, that's college football for week 4.
Yeah, we have a couple minutes left. Lakina, let's bring in our girl from KXRB Radio, fresh off our vacation in this great city of Chicago. We'll bring her in as we wrap up college football for this half hour. She's our homegirl, Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. What's going on, Christine?
Hi. I wouldn't call it a vacation, more like a weekend.
Well, a long weekend, I guess. I guess. But yeah, we'll get to our picks, of course, after the break, since we got a few more minutes left. But let's talk a little bit about the Bears and all this weirdness, I guess, that's happening.
Do we want to talk the Bears?
We don't have to talk about it for too much, but I guess Alan Williams, of course, the former DC left, and then some other stuff that kind of came out, and then I guess now they're writing a lawnmower that they use to clean their sides. Someone stole that's worth about $100,000. So. Been that kind of week, unfortunately, for the Bears. What do you think?
I mean, when it comes to Allen's situation, it's hard to say what exactly happened, whether he resigned due to health or something went down within the organization that caused a police raid for whatever reason. Who knows? We may never know that story. The organization is telling us one thing. And then you got the investigative reporters, quote unquote, I'm using, that are filling in the blanks on the rest. Yeah, I saw that a little while ago about someone stealing their lawnmowers. I don't know what's going on. That could just be a strange coincidence with all this stuff going on. But man, what a tough week.
Let's go back to quarterback Justin Fields. All this other stuff that was going down the other day, Christine. Of course, Justin Fields was asked during his presser that one of the reasons why he was struggling, he said it may be due to coaching, but some people said, he threw the offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy, under the bus. He's trashing the coaches. But you know how this works. The PR people from the Bears told him that you might have said something that you shouldn't have said. Give Justin Fields credit. He had his personal media scrum after the initial press conference to clear things up. I say this all the time, and I'll say it again. We ask athletes to be honest and truthful, and when we get that, people don't like it. So I know Justin Fields didn't want to do it, but I'm glad he did to I'm not going to say clear his name, but to have a public face, a representative publicly face for the franchise, because we all know that the starting quarterback is the face of the franchise. Publicly, he did the right thing, but when you ask for honesty, sometimes this is what you get, and you wonder why we don't hear, I'm not going to say outlandish things, but we don't hear more thoughtful, honest answers from athletes, because, sometimes the media does take things out of proportion, but, Justin Fields, I'm sure he didn't want to do it, but I'm glad he did it just to say, to clear or make sure what he said came out more thoroughly. What were your thoughts on how Justin Fields handled his situation?
You know, I got to disagree with you, Sid. And I only say that because there is an underlining code of conduct that's not really mentioned with quarterbacks. You're not supposed to throw your teammates under the bus, regardless of if they're right or wrong. And we all knew what Fields is saying is probably right, maybe right. But in the end, it's just going to fraction his relationship with Luke Getsky and with the other players on the team, along with the other coaches. So I don't necessarily agree the way that he handled it. And I think people were giving him a hard time about it, too, just because he's one to say all the time, I'm never going to blame the coaches. I'm never going to blame the players. But here he is blaming the players and the coaches. So he turned into a hypocrite, I'd say, for a little bit, just because he is someone that takes responsibility, and he's been very advocate about him taking responsibility when it comes to plays and stuff like that. I'm still with Fields. I feel bad that this is the way that his season is going so far. Again, I'm not a Fields hater, but I'm seeing the same stuff what I saw last year, and that's very frustrating. And I think this could be the year, whether he stays on as a backup, he keeps his starting spot, or he moves on with another team. But I think it's either he'll stay a backup, and then the other option would be to go to another team.
Just to make clear, Justin Fields did say after his personal media scrum the other day, he did say that he must play better. So we had to put that into context. Makina.
Well, you know, also the old, I guess, Brian Greasy playbook, I guess, from years ago after that win against Carolina. I remember that like it was yesterday. And, remember he, of course, they went to that, his headset wasn't working, and you saw it was clear as day. He kept saying, "Hey, I can't hear." And we saw what happened. So of course he had to come back. But so okay, but. Anyway, as we get into this, we have to take a really quick break. We're going to stretch for a second. Of course, we're going to do our Week 3 picks in the NFL. We'll talk some more stuff with Christine coming up after the break. Keenan McGee, Sydney Brown, our girl at KXRB's Christine Manika, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Our NFL Week 3 pick'ems right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Lakina McGee. You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
All right. You can follow your Shirley Sydney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, that's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
Well, I still have the bird, and it's Twitter at @CManika_KXRB.
And she's not changing that, folks. And you can
Not
take that.
changing it.
Not changing it at all. Our numbers going into our picks. So you didn't have a good week last week. You only had 10. Christine had 10. I had 11. I don't know how I did that because thanks to the Chargers.
Wow.
Yes, I had a little bit of a comeback there, but yeah, you and I are tied. Because Sid is unfortunately still up a game, so we didn't lose any ground. Too much. We didn't lose any ground, so I guess we're back to where we started. But
so Sid is up by us by one game.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's easy to catch up. That's easy.
Yeah. So it's gotta be very interesting because some of these games, like I said, weather could be a factor with some of these games. We'll see. But the first game up, and this is actually one of the games that could be affected by that cyclone that's occurring right on the Atlantic right now. You got Colts and Ravens. Interesting enough, our buddy Spiro Ditas will be calling this game on CBS. So say you start this one.
I have Baltimore here. We don't know the health status of rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson for the Indianapolis.
He's not playing. He's out.
He's not playing. Okay.
Nope.
Okay. So it'll be the Gardner Minshew show, aka Poor Stash, for a couple years ago in Jacksonville. But the Colts I don't think they have enough offensively. They don't have a running game. Lamar Jackson on the flip side, they're 2-0, and they have all the weapons. So. You mentioned, Lakina, the weather could be a factor. I expect Baltimore to run the ball heavily down that Colts defense. So I'm going with Baltimore.
Christine?
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens too. That's kind of an easy pick for me because the Colts are kind of one of those up in the air teams this season. You don't really know what to expect out of them this year. So sticking with the Ravens.
Short and sweet. I'm keeping with the Ravens. Like I said, I think Gus Edwards might have a career game against that front seven. So we'll see. I keep it on the ground if I was Baltimore. Tennessee and the Cleveland Browns. Christy, I know who you're gonna pick. So, but just for the record, just
for the record, and not having Nick Chubb there, that is going to hurt the line a lot. But yeah, sake of argument, tight ends.
Sid.
This is an ugly game to pick.
Yeah,
Cleveland's defense is Cleveland's
on the right side, Sid.
Oh boy, Cleveland's defense got exposed on Monday night. As I told y'all, Pittsburgh was going to win that game, which they did, scoring 2 defensive touchdowns. Tennessee, when you want to trust them, you don't trust them, and then you throw them away. They come up with the surprising performance. I know Cleveland's favored by 3.5 at home. Like I said, weather could be a factor here too, but I think just for the heck of it, I'm going with the Titans. I hate making this pick, but I'm going with the Titans.
Yeah, I'm going with the Titans too. Like I said, I think not having Chubb, that's going to be, that's a huge loss for that offense. And I didn't like what I saw against Pittsburgh on Monday night. I didn't. So this should be it'll be close because they usually these two teams actually play well each other. But I think it's gonna get real. Yeah, I think the Titans will pull away late thanks to Ryan Tannehill and that Titans defense. Should be a good one here. Christine, you start us with this one. So you start this one here. You got the 2-0 Falcons. You didn't think you'd say that, at this point of the season against the 1-1 Lions. So you start this one.
The Detroit Lions lost a tough one last week in overtime to Seattle, which was a holding penalty. Aiden Hutchinson was held there in overtime, but I digress from that. The Falcons, they have rookie running back Bijan Robinson, who's having a hot start to the season. He almost have 200 yards rushing so far in the first 2 games of the year. But that Falcons secondary is sneaky good, but I think the Detroit Lions are going to keep the ball on the ground with the former Bear running back David Montgomery. And Jared Goff, he's been playing well this year, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. I think it's going to be a close one. Detroit's favored by 3 points at home. I expected to win this game by field goal, so I'm going with the Lions.
Christine?
Yeah, sorry about that. My dad called and I said, Dad, hold on. I'm talking to America here for a second. I'll get back to you.
Shout out to Dad.
Shout out to Dad.
Yes.
I'm going to go with the Lions. I felt really, it was like a gut punch that they lost. And when it probably is a game that they should have won. But yeah, I'm going with the Lions here. Falcons are kind of one of those teams where it's like, okay, what do we do now? Are we going to shock the world again? So I don't know. I'm sticking with the Lions here.
I think the Lions might be in a bad mood after that loss to Seattle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Dan Campbell's gonna have his guys raised. So yeah, I'm gonna pick the Lions. And I will keep it close about picking the Lions.
Shout out to Atlanta though; they did beat Green Bay last week, so I forgot to mention that.
Right, that's true. Speaking of the Packers, in this next game on Fox, you got them hosting the Saints. I'll start this one. I know the Packers, they're going to be feeling want to get that bad taste against the Falcons, that loss out of their mouths. The Saints coming off a short week, so that could play a factor as well. So I'm gonna go ahead. I might regret this, but I think I might take the home team. I'm gonna pick the Packers just because they're at home.
I know running back Aaron Jones missed last week's game due to the hamstring injury that he suffered here in Chicago a couple of weeks ago. I know he's back practicing this week. I know on the flip side, the Saints haven't looked that great offensively. I know they escaped Carolina last Monday with the win on the road. But I think they're going to have to rely on their running game again. The Packers, just because of health reasons, I just don't trust them. And I think the Saints have just a little bit more on offense. I know the Packers are favored by a point at home. I'm going with the Saints.
All right.
I'm going with the Saints, too. It's a really close call. This was one of my tougher games to pick just because the Packers looked pretty decent when they played the Bears. Of course, who doesn't look decent when they play the Bears nowadays? And, geez, do I have stuff for them. But then again, with the Saints, I think Derek Carr can actually make a really good team out of them. I think he can really pull them together and pull off this win, so I'm going with the Saints.
Next up here, of course, remember Fox has a doubleheader. So just for those of you who are wondering, the AFC South.
And that game is going to be aired here in Chicago before the Bears game. I'm talking about the Saints and Packers.
Yep. So you'll get a little bit of a taste there. See with the Fox team, we got the Texans and the Jaguars. The Jaguars, I'm sure they're going to be smarter from the loss to the Chiefs. So I'm going to keep it short as I'm picking the Jags.
Same here. I'm picking Jacksonville. We're all doing Jacksonville.
Right, yeah, keeping it short and sweet. Yeah, look, we could do that with some of these games. Interesting one here. Another one of these CBS games. You got the Broncos and the Dolphins. Christine, you start this one for us.
I told Chris I hate to tell him, even though it's your birthday, I'm picking the Dolphins. It's
ouch.
It's a close call because these teams are both really good. Like they have decent quarterbacks on both sides, great coaches on both sides as well. So I think when it comes to like strength and who has a little bit more of control of the line, I'm going to go with Tua for now until I see otherwise. So I'm going to go with the Dolphins.
I think Miami's going to run that ball with Raheem Mostert. He had a great game last week in New England last Sunday night with a couple of touchdown runs. My man Tyreek Hill has 3 touchdowns so far this year. I have him on my fantasy team, so I need him to do well.
Look at you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And Miami's a 6.5-point favorite. Russell Wilson, I'm not going to throw him in the garbage can just yet.
Not like anyway.
Right.
Right, exactly.
But he's pretty damn close. But I expect the Dolphins to go 3-0 with the win at home. Miami's favored by 6.5.
Yeah, I think they're good. I think the Broncos are gonna be out east for like 2 weeks because remember they play the Bears next week at Soldier. But
yep.
I think Sunday. I think the Dolphins are gonna be too much for them. I think they've been playing well. So yeah, I got the Dolphins. Although I think it will be close. But yeah, I think Tua in the game they're gonna pull away late. Battle of the disappointing 0-2s. You got the Chargers and right. I know, right, Christy? Sid, you start this one for us.
Well, if the Chargers go 0-3, do you think that head coach Brandon Staley will be seeing a pink slip in a link card? We'll save that answer for later. But the Vikings, even though I did pick them to win a division this year, does not look good. And I know I forgot who the running back they signed the other day to sign the other day.
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers, thank you. They traded for it. Thank you. They traded for Cam Akers from the Rams. Maybe that helps them, quote unquote, save their season. But I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be enough. The Chargers are a way better team than this from this 0-2 start. Kirk Cousins, I know statistically he's having a good year, but I just don't trust them. The Chargers, they got to put the hammer down and go on a full go. So I know they're 1 point underdogs. I'm talking about the Chargers on the road, but this should be a good high-scoring affair. I'm going with the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles. We call them on this show.
For me, I have no idea. I mean, this is one of those pick'em games. If I pick the Vikings, the Chargers might win. If I pick the Chargers, the Vikings might win. So I might be screwed regardless. So they're at home. I'm picking the Vikings. I mean, jeez, this could really be. Yeah, I mean, this could be. Well, Roberto Prince was when you need him. God rest his soul. But this could be one of those games where whoever has the ball last could win it. So I don't think Austin Eckler is going to play. I don't think he's practiced all week. So yeah, I'm going to pick the Vikings. Christine, who do you have?
I'm going with the Vikings too. Either way, for both teams, this is a need to win game situation.
Yeah.
Seriously, this is going to determine the NFC for sure with these two teams. And Chris, what did you tell me with the head coach for Chargers? He had a very insightful answer about that.
No, I think it's either this weekend or next weekend.
Okay, so he thinks that he's going to get the pick slip either now or next weekend.
We'll see.
Yeah, he said 2 weeks tops.
2 weeks, okay, yeah. I think that's all. We got it on the record here, so he might be. Chris might be right. So
Chris might be right.
Yeah, the AFC East matchup here. You got the Patriots and the Jets. Jets. Your 0-2 Patriots. So far the Patriots. I would thought maybe the Patriots would be like 1-1 at the very least. And of course the Jets, with all everything going on with the injuries they've had. Aaron Rodgers and some other guys too. This could be one of those very interesting games. You don't know what you're gonna get from either team. I'll pick the Jets because they're at home, but like I said, I might regret that later. So yeah, I'm picking the Jets. Here's
the thing. I'm with you, Lakina. This is my upset game this week. I'm picking the Jets too, just because. Get this: 14-game losing streak they're on with the Patriots. Could this be the time when they break it? I think so, because honestly, the Patriots don't look that great this year. I don't know what they got going on. I think it was hilarious though that Bill Belichick had to throw that flag down in front of the ref like that. That made the highlight for me on social media. But this is my upset game. I'm gonna go with the Jets.
Hopefully Bill Belichick, or Bill Belichick, as we call him on this show, doesn't need any more laterals to the office of lineman.
Oh, jeez.
But I know it's going to be 74 degrees and sunny on Sunday. I was going to say the weather may be impacted, but it looks like it's not going to be. But the Patriots should just run the ball hard with DeMondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott. And the Jets, I know they have a great defense, but I still don't trust Zach Wilson. Yeah, I know Mac Jones hasn't done that much better, but it's going to come down to running the football. I think the Patriots have just a little bit more juice. So I'll be that lone guy and pick the Patriots. New England's a 2.5-point favorite on the road.
Like I said, I think that cycle will be gone by the time they'll kick off at that game starts. So, it shouldn't be a problem there. Going to be nice and sunny. Last of the new games, you got the Bills and the Commanders. Sid, you start this one for us, please.
Yeah, just on record for the last game, the New England Jets game. Those of you in Chicago, they'll be the lone CBS game for this week. Now, to the Bills and the Commanders, Washington surprising 2-0. They had to hold on for that win at Denver last week. Sorry, Chris, if you're listening. The Bills are checking at 1-1. Buffalo's the better team here. I think it's going to be closer than what people think. I know Buffalo's favored by 6, but I'm picking the Bills to win.
I'll pick the Bills too. Like I said, I think they're the better team. And look, I think it's going to be close. I'm not seeing people say it's going to be a blowout, but because they're going to be in DC. But I think it's going to be very close. And the Bills will do just enough to win the game, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with the Bills here. The Commanders have been the surprising team this year. I mean, seriously, you don't know what's going to come out of them, and they could end up being one of the teams to watch down the road. But for now, the Bills have always had their struggles when the season first starts out. So I'm hoping that Josh Allen and his crew can get it together for this week.
Should be entertaining, though. Could be a sleeper game, too. Could be very entertaining. Now, first of the 3 o'clock games, of course, alone 3 o'clock game on CBS. You got the Panthers 0-2 against the Seahawks. Unfortunately, no Bryce Young. So it looks like it's going to be Andy Dalton at the helm and the quarterback, I think. Yeah,
Christine's guy.
favorite quarterback. Andy Dalton is going to be on the start at the helm. Seahawks. Yeah, Seahawks. Of course, got that great game last week against in Detroit against the Lions. Should be a fun one. I think gives them Panthers a better shot. But I'm not gonna say they're gonna win the game. I think they will keep it close, but I think it's gonna be Seahawks because that place is gonna be rocking up there in Seattle. So I'm picking the Seahawks.
Yeah, this one's easy for me. Seahawks. Did they bench Bryce Young?
No, he's hurt.
No, he's injured.
He's hurt.
Oh, well, good. At least he didn't lose his spot to Andy Dalton. I mean,
no. It's not like that. He got hurt in their last game, so he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. For Coach Wright said so.
Well, thank God. Okay, well, it's going to be the Seahawks either way, whether it was Bryce or Andy Dalton.
Yeah, Seattle for me as well.
All right.
And Seattle's favored by 5.5 at home.
I think they're over though. That's just me. Yeah, Cowboys, of course, no Trayvon Diggs against the Cardinals. They shouldn't have any trouble talking about the Cowboys. So we know the Cardinals are tanking. So I think the Cardinals, easy for me. It should be easy for the rest of us.
Wait, did you say the Cardinals, Lakina? You picking an upset?
I said the Cowboys shouldn't have a hard time against the Cardinals. Remember, they're tanking. I said that's what I said. Did it come out wrong? My bad.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounded like you did. That's why we asked.
I know. Sorry about that. But yeah, I misspoke. The Cowboys, they shouldn't have no trouble against the Cardinals because we know the Cardinals are tanking. I think I got that right now.
Okay.
Now you got it.
Yes.
I'm going with the Cowboys too. I mean, they are just rolling all these teams right now. This is going to be a good battle, I think, come down the road when it comes to the NFC North title and all that. But yeah, Cowboys, Jerry's World, let's go.
Yeah, it's going to be Dallas here. As we talked about earlier, Lakina, that the injury to Trayvon Diggs is going to hurt them. I don't think it's going to hurt them too much in this game, but when they play better competition like Washington and the Giants in Philadelphia, that's where we're going to see the impact of the absence of Trayvon Diggs. So I'm going with Dallas on this one.
Yeah, she shouldn't have any trouble with the Cardinals, but then again, you never know. The Sunday nighter here, you got the Steelers and the Las Vegas Raiders. So you start this one.
Christine probably will smile at me after I make this pick. I'm going with Jimmy G and the Raiders.
Oh, okay.
The Steelers did not impress me offensively last week. I thought Kenny Pickett, who ended up with a great second half to his rookie year last year, he's not getting off to a great start this year. The Raiders, they're going to have to find a way to run the football and keep the Steelers defense stretched out. But this is more about me not trusting the Steelers offense yet. And they're 1-1 for a reason. The Raiders, they have a little bit more talent. They got to run the ball a little bit more. They got to Jimmy G's going to have to play better, but I think just because they're at home, I'm going with the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders right now are 2.5-point favorite.
Well, Sid, I'm about to surprise the heck out of you. I picked the Steelers.
Really?
I think.
I think because it's your soon-to-be husband's birthday, you don't want to pick against your crush.
Right.
I think that's what the real reason.
That's
the real reason.
I think there's something there in the Steelers. There's something there, and I'm still gonna hold strong for them. This was another tough game for me to pick. But yeah, I'm going with the Steelers.
See, I'm gonna go with you, Christine. I'm picking the Steelers too. Josh Jacobs, I mean, why is he getting the ball more? I mean, that's a little bit absurd. You got one of the top running backs, rushing title holder, and you didn't have him give the ball really. I don't know. Has Devontae Adams practiced? I know he's had the concussion last week, so I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I think the Steelers are getting better. I think that defense is still pretty good. I know Mika Fitzpatrick's a little banged up too, but I don't think they should have any trouble with it. This is going to be a good Sunday night, but I think it's going to be the Steelers too. So we'll see. Should be interesting. The first again, we're going to do the cross-sectional Monday Night Football games. I don't know why they're doing that, but that's what they're doing. Going to be doing for a little bit this season. The Ballot 2-0. I don't think people expected that. This was going to be on the ABC stream on ESPN Plus. You got the Eagles and the Bucks. Christine, you start this one for us.
I don't think the Eagles are going to have a problem playing against the Bucks. What we saw last week, again, it was the Bears. It was nothing impressive. It was nothing that said to me like, oh my gosh, this team is going to be the team to beat this year. I don't think that's the case. I think the Eagles are going to have it pretty easy with this one, so I'm going to say Eagles.
Philadelphia for me.
Oh, easy, Philadelphia. Like I said, no shade. I know they've been okay. The Bucks have, but they're on a mission. I think the Eagles are not going to look past on them. EAG. Oh, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not from Philly, so I can't do that. But the next game, this one's going to be on ESPN2. I think they're going to do a Manika, I believe, and ESPN Deportes. You got the Rams and the Bengals. Sid, you start this one for us.
This is the rematch of the Super Bowl from a couple of years ago. We don't know the status of Joe Burrow. He's dealing with that calf injury. The Rams, they came close to beating the 49ers last week. Sean McVay decided to go for a field goal late instead of going for a touchdown, but there's neither here or there. Cincinnati's a 3-point favorite at home. I'm going to kick myself in the pants in the morning, but assuming that Joe Burrow is going to play, I'm going with the Bengals.
I feel bad for my Joe Money.
That's right, Joe Money.
Yeah, he's been having a rough couple of weeks. I'm going with the Rams, even though they don't have Cooper Kupp fully at the moment. They still look like the better team in my opinion at the moment. So I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah, I think as long as they got Puka, I'm talking about the Rams, like they still got a shot. Yeah, I think he's still going to be playing in place of Kupp. But the Bengals, they've been having issues even outside of Burrow. With that calf injury of his, that O-line has not been very good. The Ravens took a little bit of advantage of that. Especially the second half of that. The last few minutes of the fourth quarter, that's really what killed them. I'll pick the Rams too. As long as Aaron Donald's still there, I mean, he's going to be a little bit of he might be giving Joe Burrow, especially not 100% fit. So that might be something to look out for. So I'm picking the Rams and somewhat a mild upset over there in Cincy. Now, last but not, maybe least, I don't know. Bears and Chiefs. Oh, Jesus. The game of the weekend for Fox. I feel bad. Yeah. Greg.
Go ahead, Christine.
Why didn't they flex this game? I know we're already in the third week of the season, but geez, does everybody really want to see this bloodbath go down?
Yeah, I think the flexing doesn't start till like week 8, I think 7 or 8. So unfortunately, they weren't able to. They actually did the switch last week. This was supposed to. Bears are supposed to be the game of the week, but they changed it to Seahawks and Lions. It was probably to be the smart thing. So, but unfortunately, I guess we were stuck with this one. So. I mean, could the Bears keep it close? Sure. Do the Bears have a shot? Sure. Will they pull it off? No. I think, well, look, our buddy Harold, I think, said it best. I mean, I don't think they're going to look past the Bears. I just don't see it. I know the Chiefs have had a tendency to do that sometimes, but this is definitely a get-right game for them, too. So I'm picking the Chiefs, and I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is.
Yeah, I loved being in Chicago on Monday. I was listening to the Bernstein and Holmes show on 670, and I love what Dan Bernstein said. He called it Chicago Sports Crisis Monday because all the teams in Chicago right now are pretty bad, and that's number one right now being the Bears. It's just, again, it's the same stuff that I was seeing last year with Fields. He is standing in the pocket for so long, and he's not throwing the ball. And I don't understand what's going on with his head mentally. Why isn't he just releasing the ball and doing what a quarterback does? He's got the wide receivers now. He's got the people to catch the ball for him. From what I see with the line holding the defense for a solid 6 seconds, that's a pretty good line from what you had last year. So I don't know what the code is. I don't know what to do to like crack Fields or to get him to be a quarterback. But it's just sad. It's painful to watch at a certain point. I'm just all over the place because I just don't know what to say with this team this year. I'm at a loss for words. The defense, they're okay. They're bigger and taller than last year, but they still need to have some work done to them. I'm assuming Eberflus is going to be calling a lot of the defensive shots this week because being a former defensive coordinator himself, only is fitting for him to call the plays out, and I think that's what he did last week too. So it's going to be so tough to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if they throw in the second stringer for Pat Mahomes come the fourth quarter. I'm picking the Chiefs.
I'm going with Kansas City as well. They're 12.5-point home favorites. Don't forget, current Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, former head coach of the Bears. I don't think he's going to need that Denny's menu for this week. I expect the Chiefs to kind of run it up. Yeah, I expect the Chiefs to kind of run up the score. I think Travis Kelce is going to have a bigger impact than he did last week at Jacksonville. So I'm picking the Chiefs, and I think they'll barely cover the spread.
Yeah.
Okay. Barely. I like how you did that, the play on words there. Those are our picks for NFL Week 3 as the Second City Sports. Sports of Chicago, Lakita McGee, Cindy Brown, our girl KXRB's Christine Manika with us as well. Christine, what do you think about your Irish chances against the Buckeyes tomorrow night?
I am so excited. This is like a battle of sisters for me because I'm a Notre Dame fan and my sister is an Ohio State fan. So this is exciting for us just because it's like, all right, who's the better team? This is definitely the game, though, for Notre Dame, that if they do come out on top, that shows that this team is legit, that this is a legitimately good team that Marcus Freeman threw together. And it's great. You have the College Game Day crew out there right now. Pat
McAfee, too.
is out there. Yeah, exactly. It's a whole bunch of fun right now in South Bend, and I think they're going to keep that energy going for the game for sure. If I know my Irish fans, they're going to keep it going.
So I'm assuming you're picking them to upset Ohio State.
Oh, absolutely. 1,000,000%.
Okay.
Not biased at all.
You heard that, America. Christine picks Notre Dame.
Do your sister have like a dinner bet or something, a friendly wager?
Oh, she's already done so much for me the last couple of weeks. Even if Irish still win, I'll buy her something.
Oh, isn't that sweet? Oh, isn't that nice? So you got anything else for Christine before, or anything else in general before we disperse?
Yeah, a couple more topics, but one before we get to the main topic, I want to ask her one last question about college football. Christine did text me last Saturday night as the Colorado Buffaloes, Deion Sanders, a.k.a. Coach Prime, they escaped with a double overtime win against Colorado State. But I want to ask Christine, what do you give Colorado a chance tomorrow as they'll face their toughest task of the season as they'll travel to face the Oregon Ducks?
Absolutely.
Oregon's 21-point favorite.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't count them out at all. I was at Sluggers over the weekend, and I've never seen a bar that is silent and cheers so hard for a team that's not in the Chicago area or not in Illinois. So to see and to be a part of that atmosphere and to watch it unfold, that was pretty cool to see all that go down. So I'm excited. This team, they look pretty good, and I wouldn't count them out just yet.
Okay.
Should be interesting. Like I said, I think they will keep it close against Oregon, but I think Oregon will be too much for them. But we'll see.
All right. So, Christine, what was your trip like into Chicago last weekend? Give us the juicy stuff.
I can't tell you all the details. Come on now.
Well, at least the stuff you can't tell.
The PG version. The PG version.
The PG stuff. Okay.
Yes.
So it was a great bachelorette weekend. My sister planned it all out. She did a great job. We went to the brick and mortar house, the rooftop area right next to Wrigley Field.
Mm-hmm.
And we did like their bottomless mimosas and stuff like that. Then we did the the Pinot Picasso wine and paint. That was a fun activity.
Oh, I heard that, yeah.
And then we went to a restaurant called The Whale. Really good food. I had really tasty crab cakes. And I had mac and cheese on the side. I had to get my mac and cheese in at some point.
Of course.
I'm a mac and cheese person too, Christine. So yeah, I know what you mean.
Of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we went out to a couple more bars that night. We got changed and whatnot. We went to Lost and Never Found, and then we checked out Sluggers. So that was pretty much it. Of course, we had to get a picture in front of the Wrigley Field sign. So that was good. The White Sox game, disappointing. They won every other game before we get there, and of course they lose the game that I'm there. And if Ozzie Guillen's listening, I gotta apologize from my mother. When we were in our box, she saw Ozzie sitting right behind home plate and just screamed, Ozzie!
Oh gosh.
I just got down and I'm like, oh my God, Mom, like you can't do that. She loves Ozzie Guillen. So Ozzie, if you're watching, I apologize for my mother. She was the one getting wild in our bachelorette suite up there.
he might not mind that. You know how Ozzie doesn't mind.
I know, but that was when you have little to no fans at the game, everyone could hear it.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I'll say that part. That is true. That is correct.
Yeah,
everyone could hear it.
Right. And speaking of White Sox, I guess I see across the wires that Michael Kopech had a cyst removed from his knee.
Oh.
So yeah. So using a bull position, I guess they discovered a cyst in his knee and they had to remove it. It's not nothing serious.
Nothing serious.
But yeah, I think they had to remove that. So he's gonna be So I don't know if he'll make his last start, but
not that it makes a difference this season, but.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. A couple other things before we check out, Christine. The way that the Sox have been playing so far this year, they should have let you and your friends playing on the field since the real players cannot get it done.
No, shout out to the White Sox crew and staff for taking care of me and my family and friends. They were awesome. I really loved being up there, and it was a great experience. And shout out to the security dog Gracie. Oh my God, she's
cute. Adorable.
Little 10-year-old lab. Oh my God, loved it.
Yeah, and also too, Ozzie Guillen was nominated for an Emmy this week for his work on pre and post game live. So maybe your mother would bring him good luck to win an award. I don't know.
Yeah, the couple. I think next month. I think those awards are set. I believe. I think the local Emmys. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the next few weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So So maybe your mom might give us some good luck. Who knows?
Right. So now he's gonna have a World Series trophy and potentially an Emmy. That's quite a trophy collection.
Yeah, your mom yelling at him, Ozzie!
Yeah, that was pretty much it. You nailed it to the core right there.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else said before we disperse?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to another good weekend in football. I'm definitely going to be watching the Colorado Oregon game on my big screen tomorrow, and of course. I'm debating should I watch the Bears game live or not, because worst case scenario, do not watch the Bears game live. I watch it on replay on DVR. So I'm debating.
This is my thought process. If you rewatch it, if you watch a replay and you're yelling at the TV, there's no point in yelling at them because they're already done what they're gonna do. So.
Don't yell at the TV. I just skip the bad parts of it. So
it might be a short game. Who knows? It might be a short view. I might
switch over our game real quick.
Yeah, but they might do well. Maybe not here in Chicago. I'm sure in South Dakota they'll probably switch where you guys.
They'll flip it if it gets big enough. Yeah.
Yeah, you get Dallas and Arizona. Should that happen, Christine? So
yeah,
it might be just as bad there too, even when they're good. So
I will.
Yeah, what about you, Christine? What are you looking forward to this weekend?
Notre Dame and Ohio State. It's my fiance's birthday today. So
happy birthday, Chris!
Yes, he's on the phone with gosh knows how many people. He's so we're just gonna take a nice weekend after a crazy weekend. Just watch football, and yeah, it's gonna be great.
Should be a lot of fun. Yeah, fun football. Of course, you got the WNBA playoffs still going on. I think they're in the semifinals, I think, and of course soccer as well. So yeah, a lot of sports. Football. Of course, that's the king here in the States. So should be a lot of fun this weekend. With that said, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at KXRB on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter X in the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Christine, where can the lovely people follow you on social media?
They can follow me on Twitter at @Manika_KXRB.
And she'll give you the bird.
Oh my gosh, no.
Oh boy. And okay, let me get Sid out of this hole he dug himself in. Of course, you can catch Second City Sports every Monday, every Friday, right here on Sports of Chicago. You can catch the replay on the YouTube page as well, and also the Twitter page too. We're on the Twitter X, I guess, and and a whole lot more, of course. We thank Howard Kuntz from Harold Kuntz. I don't know why I keep calling him Howard. I don't know why I keep calling him Howard, but Harold Kuntz from Fox 4 in Kansas City. Preview Bears and Chiefs. Yay. Of course. But yeah, I'm kind of over this team at this point. But of course, you can catch Sports on Chicago anytime, anywhere on Roku TV. Of course, we've got the Roku app, whatever device you have, just type in Sports on Chicago. You can catch our show, Sean and Maya, the Smoke Fellas. What's up, cuz? Of course, I know they're gonna have some great stuff coming up this weekend with all the football coverage, and a whole lot more.
Yep. So, as a now former White Sox GM Rick Hahn would say, tune in.
And enjoy. I know it's going to be a little bit dicey out there in the Middle Atlantic, so just be careful out there and just be safe with the cyclone. Of course, just be safe all around. Enjoy all the sports this weekend. For Sid and Christine, I'm the Kansas Miss Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago, and we'll see you next week.
Free Justin Fields. Holla.
Yeah.
Free the whole team.